He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
All right, we're back. We're on the air. Angry Mortgage Special Edition. This is the edition. Well, first of all, we have a very special guest. You're the only person who's the second time on the show. You're
Lord,
You're
love
the
a
only
duck.
one.
Thank you so
You're
much
the
for
only
having me
one.
back,
You're the
Ron.
only one.
Thank you.
So this is a special New Year's, because New Year's is on the weekend.
That's right.
New Year's coming up. So we got the special prediction edition of Angry Mortgage. Okay, so we're going to do predictions. You know, how many of them are going to come true? Not too fucking many, I don't think, but we're going to do our absolute best to figure out what we think is going to happen in 2024, and we'll be like every economist in the world. We'll be half wrong all the time.
All the time.
And if you're a really bad economist, you're wrong like 75% of the
Right.
time. Okay,
Right. Well, thank you for having me back, Ron. I really appreciate it.
Man, you're a high viewership guest, so I got to have you back. I got to have you back a lot. Okay. Anyway, so predictions. What's going to happen in 2024? Let's go with the most obvious prediction. What's going to happen with mortgage rates?
We want to start with Bank of Canada, or we want to start with bond yield?
Let's start with Bank of Canada.
You know, I'm going to go out on a ledge, and you already know this because I've commented on this before. So Benjamin Tal, all these economists have said 1%, 1.5%. Some people are getting real crazy with their predictions. 2% decreases we're talking about in the overnight lending rate. But the key is, when do these start? So my prediction, Ron Butler, is the March or April rate announcement. I'm going to say April is going to be the first decrease of 2024. I don't think it's going to be summer or fall. I think it's going to be April.
So you're way out on a ledge. There's going to be people in social media. I can hear them right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They are. We got some people on X. We got some people on TikTok. We got peeps who are going to be saying, "Oh, these dirty mortgage brokers. They just want to encourage people to buy homes, get mortgages, given the early prediction."
Oh, absolutely. I can hear them too. The anonymous accounts with no real names, no real pictures. They're going to be coming with pitchforks for me. This mortgage broker's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking. I'm the reason for the real estate crash.
Like, how much credence can you put into a banana with a face as an avatar? Okay, like that's like how much expertise can you really assign to this person? But yes, you are going to be pummeled.
I am going to be pummeled.
You're going to be pummeled on this.
That's my guess. My guess is going to be spring before the summer.
First Bank of Canada increase in Q1 next year, Q1 next year.
Decrease.
Decrease.
I think we're out of the risk.
Yeah, there's no more. The hikes are over.
How about you?
Totally over. I am basically, because I'm old and I'm pretty conservative, although not in language. Okay,
obviously
not at all in language.
Obviously not.
But I'm going to say summer. I'm going to say probably the July meeting.
July.
I'm going to say the July announcement. Is
okay.
What I think. Okay. I think it's July. Okay. Now I'll tell you why. We got to give reasons. So I'm going to go with simple thinking and more in-depth thinking. So on a simple thought basis, I think the Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklin is tired of being wrong. You don't know what I think, you fat bastard. Anyway.
Tiff came out.
So my point is this, that he's been wrong on a lot of stuff, right? Like, he's famously wrong. Like, he's going to go down when they do his biography, when when the time comes that he's finally leaves the bank, they're just going to talk about low for long. They're going to talk about inflation is transitory. They're going to just dine out on that. That's for sure. That's going to happen. But I think that he wants to, if he has to drop in, if he does drop in, March, April kind of thing, early drop.
Crucifixion?
I think it's going to be like, it's going to be one of those, how wrong can you be, sir? I mean, is this inflation is transitory again? So that's a very human emotion, but it should not be that way. It should be all analytics and economic studies and, all the rest of it and data. Okay. But we're all human at the end of the day.
I'll give you the reason behind my April.
Go ahead.
25.
You said March too. We're not going to let you off the hook on March.
I did say March, but
right.
I'm going to go with April. I'll tell you why. 25 in April, 25 in July, 25 in October, 25 in December. There's your 1%.
Okay, there's your 1%.
There's my logic.
Okay, so here's my other thinking. I'll give you my more specific thinking, my less human emotion thinking on the rate decrease. That you got to really know the economy's in trouble. Like, you got to have real clear evidence. Now, of course, we're buffeted by the good job news in the United States. We've come off last month was great job news. And, that's sort of put everybody aback a bit, wow, if they got great jobs in the U.S., what's our chance of getting, here's the thing that everybody always emphasizes, that if we drop first and drop fast, what happens to the Canadian dollar? And that's true, by the way. You can't escape it. I personally don't think it rules all thinking because, let's face it, we've had a 60-cent dollar.
Yes,
in Canada. We have had a 60 cent. I was around for it. Let me tell you what. You didn't travel in the U.S. at fucking all. Okay, not at all. I mean, you couldn't afford to do shit. Okay, and the place. Oh man, you spent all your time in Canada. All right, and a cauliflower cost $15. Okay, in the winter.
And what happens to a 60-cent dollar when you're an exporter in Canada? And you
love it. Okay. You love it. I mean, if you get a 60-cent dollar, you can sell a lot of stuff. Okay, that's reality.
Yes.
So, but I set that aside. I believe that if the economy is bad enough, if the recession is so obviously here, the Bank of Canada has to do something. Okay, they just have to do something. And that comes to our next question.
Okay,
the fixed rates, because the fixed rates are driven by bond yields, government Canadian government bond yields.
Yep.
Okay, so we've observed that a radical drop since the all-time high. When I say all-time, all recent time, like we're talking multi-decade high that we had, and now it's come back down. It's come back down to like 80 beeps. It's not linear; it bounces around. Okay, but it's come way down. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, as a wise old man by the name of Mr. Butler taught me once. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. We got the beer.
I'm a little thirsty. Sorry.
We got okay. Knock it back, baby. Knock it back.
As a wise old man once told me, the fixed market is usually reading the verbiage and the message from the Fed, but also the Bank of Canada, and it's going to move before the Bank of Canada moves. So we're seeing this movement now because of why? Because there's confidence that there is no more rate increases.
Correct.
So now we're seeing these decreases start. So if I'm predicting an April drop, or even if we go into the summer like you had predicted, one's going to think that we're going to start to see more decreases in that fixed market.
Yeah, bond yields run ahead of Bank of Canada decisions because it's like 8 or 12 or 14 people who are sitting around Bloomberg machines deciding what to do.
Right.
Okay. And they ran ahead when the rates went up. They'll run ahead when the rates go down.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to see lower fixed rates. We've already seen lower fixed rates. We had a 4.99.
How dare you, Ron Butler? I got roasted for that.
Tell me, why'd you get roasted?
I got roasted because my tweet was, we are now seeing mortgage rates in Canada starting with a 4. Now, I will concede it was one lender.
Ultra specific.
One ultra-specific product, high ratio, like there was
high ratio purchase,
correct,
okay.
And it was one. So yes, my tweet maybe didn't lay out the facts as they should have been laid out. However, did I lie? Like they did start with a 4,
Oh, people are getting, if you qualify for a 5-year fixed, which is not necessarily the right rate to take, maybe a trap. If you qualify for a 5-year fixed, I got all kinds of Admiral Akbar, that guy from Star Wars.
That's exactly what I thought.
It's a drop.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with our fucking country? That nobody can come up with a new meme. I mean, it's all like every time I hear the phrase "it's a trap," that fucker from 35 years ago shows up. What the fuck?
I think of it.
Okay.
As well.
Oh my god.
But so that's what happened. I tweeted mortgage rates in Canada are now starting. We have mortgage rates starting with a 4 now in Canada. And holy fuck, the vitriol. I am, as I said earlier, I'm the cause of a real estate crash, people going bankrupt. I'm the reason. I'm a greedy mortgage broker.
All right. So we'll
more and more rates will start with a 4 in the spring of 2024. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I will note that to much the pundits of real estate, the bears, what happens, Ron, when a mortgage rate in Canada, or most of the mortgage rates in Canada, conventional and high ratio, start with a 4? What happens with real estate?
Well, our observation, we have a very, very clear path to understanding that from just this year. We had a dead as a doornail real estate market leading up to February of 2023. And all of a sudden, rates started with a 4 and real estate market came back to life.
It took off.
It took off until it didn't. And then the rates went back up like fast as hell, and it went for shit. Okay, and we're sitting in real estate desert right now. Like there's house sales desert is going on in Ontario. Still fine in Alberta, slowing down in Quebec, slowing down in BC, Maritimes. We have those folks in the Maritimes who are always scratching their heads saying, How come the rents are up 50% in my province here? Because all these fuckers from Ontario bought rental properties here. So there's that. But we know. But this leads us into our next question.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
The prediction about house prices. Prediction on house prices. Because we know house prices have been falling.
They have been falling.
Through the fall, through the autumn, into the winter. We're in, it's going to be a new year next week. And what happens?
Well, as you know, when mortgage rates start with a 4, we have stress tests that start with a 6,
instead of an 8.
Not an 8, which is a nail in a coffin when it's an 8. And what happens with a lack of supply and mortgage rates starting with a 4, we start to see people. Now, listen, as you did, I started to see purchase agreements come across my desk in October, November, and December. Why?
Not in great volume.
Not in great volume, but they're coming back. The people are starting to look again. When they start with a 4 and people start understanding with every quarter of a point of that fixed rate coming down, we can now qualify for 20, 30, 40,000 more. It's not about getting into more debt. It's not about getting into a massive mansion in the sky. It's just literally Canadians qualifying for a home finally again. So I predict that will real estate values skyrocket? No, we're not going to see the February 22 madness that
we're not going to see that. Okay.
We're not going to see that. Will we see stabilization and maybe in pockets starting to come back up? I think so, because there's going to be competition again.
All right. This takes us back to my constant story about the fact that you can't fully kill housing sales. You can't stop them.
No, you can't.
Because there's things that happen that force a house sale.
That's right.
Sadly, tragically, the owner passes on.
Yep.
Okay, and that house has to get sold. Sadly, people can lose their jobs, and maybe beneficially, people can get a job transfer, and then that house has to get sold.
Yep.
And the other classic, woman comes home early from work.
Oh Jesus!
And goes into the house and finds out that her husband's in bed with her sister. Okay. So that's a real house sale must at that point.
That definitely
that's marriage breakdown, baby.
That definitely puts a damper on the party.
Yeah, and people might say, God, that's a horrible thing. That's a horrible vista you just painted. But I got a feeling that in Alabama, that happens a lot, but I'm not saying it happens everywhere. By the way,
you said the wife's sister. You didn't say the guy's sister.
No. That's Appalachia. Okay, like calm down here. Calm the fuck down. Okay, like I'm trying to just use awful, not just over the top and horrendous. Yeah, like
okay. Well, in a past life, I worked as I covered the last time I was here. I worked in a blue collar job where we built machinery, and this is just to add on to this story. We built machinery in Canada, and then we'd ship it to the America or around the world.
Absolutely.
I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that there were a couple of occasions where some gentlemen decided that they were done on the road early and decided to come home early to surprise.
Oh, the job in the plant was over early?
You know, they're in Texas doing an install.
They're doing
job's
an install.
done.
Oh, they catch an early flight. Okay.
Ron, you can go home. The job's done. We got you on an early flight. Great. I'm going to go surprise my wife and go home. And guess what happens, Ron? You go home and there's your best buddy's pickup truck's in the driveway.
And it's not a pleasant surprise.
No, it is not. And that is real life, folks. So anyway.
So is marriage breakdown, and houses must be sold. So, there's no such thing as the end of real estate. There's no such thing as no houses getting sold. So houses will always get sold. It's how many of them are being sold and at what price. My thesis that I come back to, and it's yet to be proven, and because you have to go back 30 years for a real recession in this country. In Ontario, it's a serious recession like 1990, 91.
Yes.
Serious impact on the housing market. Very serious
and prolonged.
Okay, lasted for 6 years, and houses prices didn't even really break their inflationary trend for about 12 years.
That's right.
So, but does a recession impact on house prices? We don't know yet, because it's a 30-year-old event, and a lot's changed in the world in 30 years.
Right.
Okay, a lot's changed in Canada.
Yep.
And by the way, we didn't have 1.2 million new Canadians back in 1991 either.
Right.
Okay. So history does not repeat itself. You can spot a trend, but it doesn't repeat itself.
Right.
So we got to see what happens here.
Right.
So I don't know just how much impact a bad economy will have on what you just said, and I've said in the past, a rate with a 4 in front of it.
Right.
So we're going to
find out.
We're going to find out, which brings me to that's my favorite graph of all time. You've seen the best graph in the world, right? The fuck around axis and the find out axis. Okay. That's it. That's my favorite graph that I ever saw. My favorite meme. Let me show you how this works on this axis. This axis is axis X is fuck around. Axis Y is find out. And you're going to find out, baby.
We are going to find out.
We've been fucking around. We're going to find out.
We are going to find out.
All right. So house prices, hard to pick because we just don't know the confluence of economic issues versus lower interest rates.
That's resale market. We haven't even touched on the.
No, we're going to talk. Well, yeah, we got to get to that important thing about our real estate problems.
Pre-con.
Okay? Yeah. So here's what Rob and I think about all the time in the mortgage business is when there's segments. There's the purchase segment. There's the renewal segment, and then there's the refinance segment. Refinance is people want some more money out of their house for various reasons. They want to do home improvements. They have, something's happened in their life. They really need to, or we're back to the endless stories of our extramarital surprises that we talked about. Is you got to raise some cash to pay off a spouse because you got a marriage breakdown. So the point is that they each have impacted differently, but they're all impacted by appraisal. So what is the house value as decided by professional appraisers or even by electronic appraisal? And then if that breaks down, for sure, you're going to have a physical appraisal done on the house.
Especially if you're going to challenge that desktop appraisal.
Absolutely.
If it comes in low.
100%.
Yeah.
So talk to us how that affects all these things in the property market.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you purchase. So for all the viewers, you purchase your home at a peak. Maybe you made your offer in December of 21, January of 22, and then you close. You close on that purchase in March or April of 2022. And even from the point where you made your offer to the time of closing, it has dropped drastically. Now, fast forward into the spring here, you're going to be 2 years into that property.
Yep.
You bought at 1.2. It's maybe worth $1 million. If you bought 80% loan to value and you need to refinance.
You ain't going to refinance.
That's right. So, and this, for the viewers out there, this is a big problem when it's not just taking money out to pay debts. To go back to the surprise, where a marriage dissolves, if you want to keep the home with the children, the school, this is very problematic for a lot of Canadians that are going to go through this because
Huge.
if Ron's leaving the house, I gotta pay you to leave, but I gotta keep the kids. But now it's not worth 1.2, and how we're going to pay that stuff. So there's big problems with that, absolutely.
Or how about even if rates come down, there's still renewals going on. There is no renewal that happens in Canada today where the rate is the same or less. It's always more.
Right.
And there's people who've been hanging on by their fingernails on variable rate, and that may not come down. You say April, I say maybe July, but that's just when it starts, so it's not like it's coming down fast.
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
So those people may need to decide to refinance. They might want to get a line of credit or something so they can try to get through this difficult period. And just as you said, they find out that the house is worth less than they thought.
Yeah.
We actually had one on renewal last week. We had a person who just wanted to transfer their mortgage at renewal. So they're going from, and they bought like about 3 years ago. They had a 3-year fixed.
Okay.
So they were looking to just transfer the mortgage right across. No extra money,
dollar
for dollar, and just get still an increase, definitely an increase, absolutely a higher rate.
Right.
But they just wanted to see if we could get that mitigated by a somewhat lower rate. Shopping around, always a good idea. And guess what? Appraisal didn't work at all. Appraisal did not work at all from 3 years ago.
Transfer.
Yeah, now it's in the regions that have the most vulnerability, right?
Okay.
No offense to Rob, who's like the
shout out Guelph, Ontario,
the prince of the city in Guelph.
Thank you.
Okay. It was like outer rim. It was like out there. I think it was Innisfil or something.
Okay.
And appraisal didn't work at all.
Didn't work.
So but it doesn't take much, right? Like if it's 81%, you're humped. That's it. You can't do anything. You're done. Okay. So, and we don't want to teach everybody the mortgage business, but for you guys, for mortgage brokers who are watching and listening, they understand 81% on transfer.
No bueno.
That don't work.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got all these issues coming up, and the pre-construction stuff. So let's look at appraisal on pre-construction. We just talked about it. Not maybe crucial for an old condo building that's just coming on stream now and it's taken 6 years and the pricing was pretty good when you got it.
Right.
But every month that becomes more difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because we do see condo prices falling in some areas.
We do. Yeah. I mean, the condo market up in Guelph, I don't follow as much as I'm sure you do in Toronto. But I will say this, it's always in an on fire market, as you've talked about before on this show, but in some guest work that you've done at some other events. And when a market's on fire, everybody's winning. The developer's winning, the realtors are winning, the buyers are winning, the assigners are winning. Everybody's winning. Cheap money, right? Everybody's coming out a winner.
1.49 5-year fixed. Everyone's a winner.
Everybody's a winner. When you put in 20% on some of these projects, maybe not a condo, but detached, some of these projects, but even if you put 10% down on an $800,000 condo, that's $80,000 that you don't have working for you right now. It's set aside, and those values are continuing to chip down. You're going to come to a point where you're going to say, which some people are saying, like, I'm not going to close. I'd rather give you the $80,000 deposit and walk away from this deal.
And we've seen that.
And because I can't, first of all, I can't qualify. The qualifying rate's still too high.
Yep.
Second, I can't cash flow positive this property if they are going to rent it out as a purpose rental. So there's so many problems that are coming to fruition with this condo market. And as I saw somebody speak about this on another thing that you were on there, Shrinko, the worst is not yet to come is the message I was kind of understanding.
Yeah, Jordan's the expert on pre-construction condos, and his idea is that late fall of next year, there could be whole buildings that can't close.
And into 2025.
Yeah, but again, that's far away.
Sure.
The best... I hate prediction, but this is a fucking New Year's prediction show, so I'm doing some fucking predictions, folks. But I hate prediction because so many weird things can happen that you just couldn't possibly guess.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's going to be a point in time when people are going to say, look, and let's think about some of the houses. Like, some people bought a townhouse 18 months ago, and it's coming for completion now. And it's probably worth less.
100%.
If we appraised it,
100%
worth less.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff happening. I don't know the final outcome because you and I got to agree. we haven't seen too much pure fuckery this year.
Correct.
I mean, just one-offs and just one unusual thing, but we haven't seen the rampant insanity of people don't appraise right. They lose on appraisal.
I'm going to leave you on this topic. I'm going to leave you on this. I've seen developments locally where a chartered bank, not one that we deal with in the broker world, has offered bought down rates that even Butler Mortgage can't touch.
Woohoo! Never heard of that before.
299 on a pre-construction sale when the market was offering 499. What happens when these buyers close and they qualify on the 299 because that's the deal they're getting? What happens to these buyers in 2 or 3 years when that mortgage might be up if it's a short-term fix? Like, these are just more layers on layers that create problems for Canadians, right?
You're absolutely right, because what we have to appreciate is that when economic circumstances change radically, and particularly in the interest rate world, there's a trickle-down effect to so many things.
Yes.
Just so many things can go sideways. It's just absolutely crazy.
Yep.
And we're seeing it. We're absolutely seeing it. It didn't really impact us in 2023, but 2024 could be really, really different.
Yeah, could be.
You see it.
Could be.
So one thing I will tell you for sure, though, and you'll have noticed this, because all you got to do is drive along a highway to notice it, because you pass some developments. We're not building there's no housing starts.
Fuck
right?
no.
There's no housing starts.
No.
Whenever we hear about, CMHC says housing starts are going to be fine this year, or they're not fine in any way, because we heard Rami Bowers came out in front of, was quoted as saying, Ms. Bowers, what do you, and by the way, she's a good person.
Yep.
She did a good job.
Yep.
She's leaving CMHC. She's president of CMHC, leaving to the IMF.
Right.
And sometimes leaving a job makes you sound a little more honest than before. But she was a good person, well-liked, competent, good person. And she's just, somebody hammered her and asked her the question over and over. It's like, can Canada hit this $3.5 million, this thing we keep hearing about, the plan for 3.5 million new homes to cure the housing crisis? And
there's no plan.
There's absolutely no plan. There was no. I guess that's the benefit of leaving a job. You can say, tell the truth. I'll just tell the truth. Well, there's no fucking plan. She didn't swear. Ms. Bowers didn't swear.
The last time I was down here, I said, who was the previous housing minister that I said should get fired? He ended up stepping down.
No, he got it. Oh,
he got transferred around.
He got transferred around.
Right.
Yeah, he's in something else. Yeah.
Right, he's in something else. Yeah. And I said, you get rid of this guy. Look, enough with the ribbon.
I don't think that's why they got rid of him. But
not because of me?
Not personally, no.
Okay.
But maybe it was. I don't know.
We don't know. Enough with the ribbon cutting of, we got 10 new units. Like, as to your point, there's just not enough activity.
And particularly now, because when, again, you were kind enough to come down to by Pearson Airport from Guelph, and when you drive around, you realize, hey, you know what? This condo building is like 3/4 finished, but I haven't seen fuck all happen on it for like
that crane's not moving,
and there there's that little backhoe there, it hasn't moved for 3 months or 6 weeks, and there's still no siding. Like, nothing has fucking happened on this condo building, and that's because something went amiss.
Something went wrong,
and they can't finish.
That's right.
And if you can't finish, you sure as fuck ain't starting new. Okay,
that's right.
So whatever you hear about housing starts in Canada, they just sure as shit aren't happening in Ontario. And Ontario, they're probably doing fine. I bet you Alberta's going fine. I bet you no problems in Alberta. They're throwing up new houses there. They're throwing up condos there.
Red hot.
God bless you guys out there. I'm sure things are going just fine out there. Parts of BC probably okay.
Is Butler Mortgage licensed in Alberta?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
I was about to give somebody a shout out in Alberta, but call Butler Mortgage when you're in Alberta.
No, fuck that person. I mean, just call Butler Mortgage if you're in Alberta.
No, there's so many good people in there.
They're my competitor. Fuck them. I mean, I like you. You're it. Okay, handful of people, but rest my competitors can fuck themselves. British Columbia also licensed in British Columbia,
okay, good.
And but there's some issues in Vancouver proper. There's some people who those projects have stopped or not starting.
Yeah, and more to come.
And so here's the bottom line: if you're not building the fucking houses, they're never going to finish. If you didn't put the shovel in the ground, if you didn't pour the concrete, not gonna fucking finish. So whatever you hear about more houses coming or forget about the mythical 3.5 million bullshit. I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be less housing starts this year.
Ron, the only way that that's going to happen is if Canada turns into China or Russia and the state starts building them on their own. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
You know, we still have 22 months to get a building permit in Toronto. So,
right.
Like that is definitely.
How about
not
that? How about that transportation line that's still undergoing in Toronto? What's that?
Oh yeah. We got the Crosstown LRT that the big announcement just a couple of weeks ago. We don't know when it's ever going to finish. Okay, we've been going on 8 years. 8 years down the road.
Exactly.
Not finished.
Exactly.
Supposed to be finished 2 years ago. We don't have a fucking clue when that's going to finish.
Just to wrap this segment up about this, in Guelph, shout out to Guelph and Mayor Cam Guthrie. They've been talking about the Baker Street parking lot being redeveloped. I remember going to City Hall close to 10 years ago. Close to 10 years ago, and speaking with one of the developers there, and they brought, I shit you not, they brought this model from, they got all the dust
off the fucker. Yeah.
And they got it, here it is.
Here
and
it
it's
is,
been
yeah.
around for 10 years since.
Oh,
So
for fuck's
20
sakes.
years, 25 years of a development. It's finally underway, but these things take time.
And yet, in other places, they don't.
Right. You can build a hospital. You can build a hospital in 10 days in Wuhan at the beginning of COVID.
Jeez.
Oh, I said the word COVID. Is your show going to get taken off of YouTube?
No, we're
now?
gonna be okay.
Okay.
They can build just the biggest 8-lane highway in India under budget and on time, and it's like huge. And we can't even start to build a highway. We got to get more. We got to get more studies. We need to know. We need to know if there's a tree frog going to get in trouble there.
That's
so,
right.
That's right. Anyway, I can't do that. Hey, there was something that we will touch on. Something, a little tiny prediction. There was an announcement that CMHC is considering going back to their old concept, a wartime 1950s concept, that they would produce templated building plans.
Yep.
They're very much templated.
Yep.
They would support those plans in some kind of special way through the federal government.
Yep.
And they would insist that local municipal governments say, if you produce it according to this plan, permit is instant.
Right.
No bullshit about 22 months.
This
it's
was
instant.
just announced 2 weeks ago. Yep.
That's like, yeah, it's a new thing. Now, do I think that's going to work? Do you think that's going to work?
Okay. Well, what I think if it's going to work versus what I think about it in general. Listen, just in general, I fucking love the idea. That was my first home. I bought one of these Victory homes in Guelph, one of these styled homes.
Hold on 1 sec. Very interesting to all the listeners and viewers. That place still works 70 years later.
The house?
Yep.
Oh, 100%.
100%. That's interesting. That's interesting, folks. It doesn't necessarily have to be super duper new, all up to new building code that's been updated 175 times.
Let me tell you something. It was
People are still living there.
It was by the way, it was a cinder block foundation built in the 50s. It leaked. Okay. Listen, I love the idea that we need, as North Americans and as Canadians, we need to get away from this. You know, the premier of this province was like, we're going to build 1,600 square foot homes with finished basements for like $2 and a bag of ring-dings. Like, it's not happening. But also, why? My wife and I moved into that 900 square foot home with an unfinished basement. We had 2 kids in that house. Those kids shared a room until they were 9 years old. When we moved, 7 years old, something like that, until we moved out. It's a fucking awesome idea. Now, is it going to work?
Is it going to get off the ground?
Who's going to build the home? It's a great idea and concept. Ron, you're the developer. I'm the municipality. I'm coming to developers going, you guys got to build these fucking places. We're going to green stamp any of these plans. We're just going to let you go. And what are you going to do? You're going to go,
there's no market for it. There's no market for it.
Not just that, but you're not going to turn a profit. Like you're
not even going to think about it.
Right. So that's the problem. It's
a
great idea and concept.
So conceptually, it's got to have some other things attached. It's got to have radically reduced development fees, radically reduced taxation, and somehow we better find some of that famous federal land. That federal land that we have people in politics talk about. We got to release federal land to the public. Okay, we better find some of it and sell it to somebody at a very low price so we can get that particular home built. Like you said, great idea. We're gonna have to wait and see if it ever happens.
Yeah, 100%. And then there's always the concept of just the owner doing the right thing. Like, who's to say they're not going to build these homes, get them sold? I move in, I hold it for a year, I flip it for a massive profit because I can. Like there's just so many ifs in this scenario. Again, conceptually, I think it's a great idea.
Well, anything to speed up this insanity of permitting that we have and this insanity of approvals, insanity of inspections. Like, I mean, I realize it, but if you had templated cookie cutter stuff, and then everybody says, oh, if it's cookie cutter, it's communism. Hold it, dudes. Like, I'm going to take you down to whole subdivisions where they look after 70 years, they look a little alike, but everybody's happy to live there. Okay, it's not fucking communism. Okay, Jesus Christ.
If you put siding on the house that's blue, nobody's going to shoot you in the head.
Yes,
you can do what you want with your home.
Yes, absolutely.
Right
now, since we're talking politics a bit, next prediction is elections. Is there going to be a federal election in 2024?
Ron, you have a better chance of running the Boston Marathon than a federal election happening in 2024.
Are you saying?
And I say that with all due respect. All due respect.
I can't run the Boston Marathon?
All due respect.
No, a half
Let
marathon?
me tell you something.
What about a 5K?
Rob,
I'll be fucking dead. I'll be dead at like 1,000 meters. I'll be fucking ran for 1,000 meters. I'll collapse, for fuck's sakes. Don't be silly. I'm too fucking fat.
You don't have to be a genius to know that there's no fucking way that the NDP is going to dissolve Parliament. There's no way that the Liberals are going to call an election. There is no fucking way. Unfortunately, like we are living in a democracy, and we have that great fortune of living in a democracy.
We do.
The downside of this situation that we're in is 8 out of 10 people in Canada don't actually want this current leadership. So we all have to wait out this grind until 2025. And I'm just going off of the polls. If you look at the polls that are out there, it is a fucking landslide of people don't want this leadership. I don't think that there's going to be an election next year. No.
And
it would be suicide.
To your point, there's the added feature of some of these parties are a kind of a version of broke. Okay. The Conservatives are great at raising money, and many, many reasons behind that. Good reasons, bad reasons, sideways reasons, but they do a great job of raising money. And today, because of sort of the unpopularity of the leader, the Liberals have a tough time raising money.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And the general and the NDP have a tough time raising money. Okay, so if they are no longer in the hole. NDP worked themselves out of the hole. They're debt free now. But you need real money to fight an election campaign. So you gotta make that choice. You're right.
You also need a leader who's going to get behind that's going to get Canadians behind them. And unfortunately, I just don't know that Jagmeet Singh is that leader anymore. He may have been, but it's kind of hard to be towing that line when you're featured in Rolex ads from the Yorkdale Mall.
The Rolex thing did not work well.
And I'm not saying anything that's a lie, or allegedly having a Versace handbag. Listen, you can't. It's not going to work. Could you see Jack Layton wearing a Rolex at Yorkdale?
I don't think he ever wore a Rolex ever.
Would you see him having a Versace or Coco Chanel or any of this shit?
I'm not sure what Olivia Chow would wear, though.
Right.
I'm not sure. It could have happened, but anyway,
it's just not.
I agree with you. Unless something radically unusual happens.
Sure.
I don't see any election
unless
next year.
Pierre Poilievre gets caught in a van down by the river doing something he should not be doing.
By the way, we are not suggesting he does that at all. Not at all. Okay. All right.
He's going to coast to a victory.
All right. So let's think now about, because I agree with you. We're both in agreement. So let's now think about our little mortgage industry. The little mortgage industry we exist in, mortgage world, mortgage brokers, mortgage agents, bank specialists, and real estate agents to a certain extent. Let's just admit, you actually reminded me of this hellaciously evil line that I used a few weeks ago when I asked, hey, can you hear that noise? Do you hear that noise? And people were looking at, what noise? What's he talking about? Do you hear the noise of keyboard strokes? Don't you hear it? I hear it. I hear 40,000 real estate agents typing up their resume because they're not working. So yeah, that was mean. Yes, all the realtors listening, very mean. I'm sorry. In essence, I'm a mean guy. As simple as that. So we know how slow real estate is. We know, but we also know they can park their licenses easily. They can go back and do other work. And
then when
real estate perks up again, they can come back. But we know that We know there's been a lot of action. People have been switching teams, just trying to find realtors switch teams just to try to find a better option. This is mainly Ontario, folks. I mean, again, I think realtors are doing fine in Alberta. Everything's regional. Real estate's regional. That's it.
Yep.
And I think there never was a huge growth in realtors in Winnipeg, so it's probably pretty just steady there.
Right.
But
the GTA went off like a rocket.
And there was so many 70,000 realtors in the TREB system. So what happens to mortgage brokers? Is it similar? We do have more products to sell. Will there be less mortgage when the renewal comes up in Ontario in March? And I think it's the same in Alberta. I think it's this summer in Alberta. I think it's spring in BC. When the renewals come up, will there be far less mortgage brokers?
You got to think so. I would say, yeah, twofold. One is the economy. It's been brutal. If you're not an established broker with a database and a good referral sources and whatnot, then you're going to be suffering. Also, let's not forget about the new licensing that has kind of come into effect in Ontario with the level 1, level 2, and the broker and the private mortgage course. Is it safe to say that a lot of newer agents in Ontario were doing deals that I'm sure you saw come across your desk, because I certainly saw them, where they'd place them in a private and you go, I mean, this is an A- deal. I don't know why this went into a private.
Didn't need to be private, no.
And why did that happen? Well, because they could, and the clients didn't know better. So with this new regulation and new course by FSRA, is it going to, dramatically help? I don't know, but it's another roadblock for some agents that are going to be newish. So yeah, I think there's going to be a drop. My prediction is going to be a drop. Absolutely.
How much? March coming. How much?
Is it do we know the stat? Do you know the stats on how much it was this past March? How many fell off?
It was the normal, sort of 15%
rollover.
churn. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is 20% crazy?
Okay, so you got to give your prediction. What's the prediction for
20% drop off in licensees? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say for Ontario, I'm going to say 22% drop, maybe more, but I'm minimum 22. Now remember, it rolls every year. There's people even in the best year. There's people leave. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say absolute negative in numbers. Let's go to BC. Some drop off, not as bad as Ontario in the mortgage space. Not as fewer mortgage brokers in BC, but fewer. And now let's go to Alberta. I say neutral. I say plus minus 2%.
A healthy market.
Yeah, they're doing fine. And so, but yeah, I'm going to see the biggest drop in mortgage agent numbers probably that we've ever seen. Mortgage broker agent numbers in Ontario. Not like half. That's silly, but there's going to be fewer. And now when it comes to that's my prediction. And now when it comes to big mortgage networks, DLC and M3, I'll give you my prediction.
You give me your prediction.
Nothing happens. That is steady, solid, steady state. We're not going to see any particular difference in those organizations next year as we saw this year. I see steady state with the whole mortgage business. And with the exception of my peeps who are the digital mortgage guys like Nesto, Pine, few of those guys, I see continued misfortune for my competitors. Okay.
What about that fruit? What about that fruit company?
There was a fruit?
The fruit company that went public?
Pineapple, look, I have beaten the snot out of pineapple for so long. Okay. I'm going to stop. Okay. I'm going to put a temporary moratorium on beating up on pineapple. Good. Number one bondage safe word in the English language for S&M. Still number one, but I'm going to stop talking about them. I'm not going to say anything bad about them.
Okay.
I'm putting a full moratorium on it. Good. I like those guys.
Good.
They're good people there. Yeah. Even though one of the people, the executives, got a little mad at me at one point in time, but she was kind of a little bit telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. She might be right, but I'm a moratorium on pineapple. God bless them.
Will we see more bankers come over to the broker side?
Hell yes. Okay, well, we're seeing it. We're seeing a huge push for bank mortgage specialists are being beckoned by the mortgage brokerage networks for a very simple reason that there's more alternative business going on than a business in Ontario.
That's right.
And they're feeling the pinch and they're saying, let me get over to the broker side. Not the super duper high rollers, but they're real stars in the bank mortgage side. They're still doing fine.
Sure.
But we are seeing that. I think we're going to continue to see it. How about you? Same thing?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that there's only so much juice you can squeeze out of a lemon on that branch side. No disrespect to the mobile mortgage force, but yeah, I mean, there's just more opportunity in the
tools,
world.
more tools, more things.
And to mention the banking world, we have a major Canadian bank coming back into
BMO's coming. So BMO's coming
what's
right
your prediction on BMO in the new year?
I think BMO will do fine. I think they're a successful bank. They're going to do a good job, and people are going to use them. I think that's going to be great. Rob, thank you.
Thank you.
You're the only guy with a second visit. God bless you.
Ma, I made it.
You made it, baby. You're here, baby. And thank you for being here. That's the predictions. We'll see if we're right. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm wrong, I'm still right. See you next time.
Amazing. Thanks, Ron.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.